Alright folks, welcome back. We're back on the Hemi Dodge Ram. Find a good place for some light. We can all see Napper showed up with our parts. Hopefully the camera's picking this up for us. And actually, I was able to get it relatively quickly, same day even. So we got your classic Echo Charlie 492. This should be our connector, which is twice the cost of the actual switch. I don't know why connectors are so expensive, but they are. So this is our new connector here. It came with a couple crimp and seal type deals here. So we're just gonna open this up. Very gingerly slice down the tape here. There is some plastic poly loom underneath this, so we can be a little more aggressive with our knife. My goodness, they have quite a wad of tape over the poly loom and just wrapped around this harness here in general. I mean, it is on here thick. I don't want to cut through the wires. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's see if we can't open this up just a little bit more here. And then we don't have to worry about getting the tape there off the end because we're just going to cut through it. So the key's off at this point. Well, that stuff is on there super thick. I think I'm just going to leave that alone. And our harness is going to end up being a touch longer than it was from the factory. So we're just going to cut right through those. Cut right there, right through the middle of that glob, take that off there. And now we've got our wires here. And these are quite a bit smaller gauge than the repair end. So these are probably like, 18, and this came with like, I don't know, this is probably like 14 gauge is what it looks like. So we can leave it a little bit longer. We'll say like right about in there, we'll be fine. I'm gonna trim that off. We're gonna get the 2 crimp and seal connectors that it came with. And we'd probably be best served to stick them up here first because that's gonna be the ones they least likely crimp to. So if we're gonna have a foul, I'd rather have it here. So I'm going to strip these a little bit longer than normal. And then let me move. For some reason I think it's not recording quite well, or at least as good as I'd hope. But so we're going to twist these up, and then I'm just going to bend them back over themselves to essentially make the wire twice as thick as it was. Being careful not to fold it down on the insulated portion. Just fold the wire back upon itself. Okay. Give them a little pinch down there. And then we'll use the blue crimp and seal connector here. Stick that right up in the barrel. Use the non-insulated side of your crimpers. Give that a good squeeze. Squeeze and a tug. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So hopefully you guys can see this. Like I say, bend it back over on itself, so it just essentially makes the wire a little thick. Stick that on there, and then give it a crimp, just like so, and a tug. All right, and then we'll take and strip the wires back on our end here, just normal. 1/4 inch or so, whatever you think you need. Strip that one back, and I'll strip this one back. And then, I don't believe polarity is going to be an issue, but we will just hook it up the way it was before. So this wire is going to be black. But on a switch like this, I don't believe it matters, but I don't want to find out that I'm wrong. Give that a crimp. You'll crimp and tug. And then we'll stick this one here in the purple wire. Crimp that like that. And then I'm going to take and heat shrink this down. So I've had other people comment before saying that they didn't realize you could take a butt connector and melt the ends down on it. So don't be fooled by that. These are special, so to speak. These are a special type of butt connector, if you will, that has the ability to shrink down and they typically have adhesive in them that seals it up when they're shut. You can't do this with just a standard, you know, blue butt connector. So, you know, if you're out there trying to melt yours down and it's not working, that's why. And I'm gonna let that cool down. And then we'll make sure that it's sealed on those small wires. And then we'll probably cut the poly loom back and we'll tape this up so it's good and sealed. But while we're waiting for that to dry, or cool rather, we can take this hose off and then we'll reach right under this ESIM switch. There's a little tab under here. And then these things usually spin out. Yep, just like so. So we turn that, wiggle it out. So that comes out and you guys can probably see, you know, up inside the connector. Well, I don't think you can because the lighting here is not great. But you can see up inside there that she's pretty well cruddy. So, yeah, let me get the new one. Yeah, so that whole terminal is actually missing out of there. And I just noticed here as I set it down, you can see it's rotted right straight through the back of the ESIM switch. So that thing is corroded all the way through the plastic. And, but you can look inside there. If you get one of these to play with, you can see, you know, the weighted ball in there that floats up and down. The weighted valve rather. And then this is your classic Acklin. It's your 271013, made in America. They call it a leak detection pump. If you're calling down to Napa to get it, if you tell them you need an ESIM switch, they probably won't know what you're talking about. So, leak detection pump. So here it is. We will stick the seal up inside the box. A little seal will stick right there. Let me grab a little bit of Sil Glide. We're just going to put a little on that so it turns nice and easy. It's classic 765 1351 Sil Glide from Napa. It's a good rubber lubricant, good all-purpose rubber lube to have around your shop. So we're going to get a little bit of that around there. And then we put it in the same way we took it out, like that, and then you just turn it until it clicks. Then we can have a look at this. It does look like the adhesive oozed out both ends here. They seem pretty good. So we'll just stick them just like that, and then I'm just going to wrap this back up with tape, and then we'll bring it around and just click it right in there. Like so. Oh man, I wouldn't want to be out there on a motorcycle today, boys. Keep having these pop-up thunderstorms all day, and some of them have been getting pretty nasty. There's that. Take and get it plugged back in. So there's that. That's good. And then this is just the filter over here. They did not have a filter in stock, and this appears to be a little longer on this side, so we're going to go this route. Plug that into the filter, and then plug this into the end of the. Oh, actually, our filter popped right apart here. So that's what the filter looks like inside the can. That shouldn't pop apart, folks. Well, not a huge deal. It's not the pressurized size of the system, it's the fresh air side. I'll probably, I guess at this point, doing that pop apart, I'll probably just take a little epoxy just to stick that together so it doesn't keep popping apart here, but maybe we can order a new one for the morning, but for the time being, we're just going to leave it like it is and continue on with our testing. I did get us a new fuel cap, your classic 703 1716, because this one felt funny. I'm not talking ha-ha funny. It just, when you go to take it off, I don't know. I wanted to have one here just in case. Maybe it was just the first time I touched it, but the clicky is pretty dang weak, and it's pretty inexpensive. But I do see a fair amount of rust around the outside of the cap here. Not a ton. I say, as a precaution, let's clean this up. We're going to Sil Glide it. Caps are pretty cheap. I'm going to throw a cap on it, and then we're going to proceed with our test. It's not horrible, it's just this little bit down here towards the bottom. So I just use a little bit of emery cloth. If it's not really too bad at all, I just go across it with a Scotch-Brite pad. So I just wanted to clean that a little bit up. Pull the rag out. We'll take the Sil Glide. Must be Phil used this last. Okay, wipe the grit off it. Here we go. And then just a little bit around the lip of this here. Slows down the rust for a little while, anyways. Let's see how the new cap fits here in comparison. Oh, that's significantly different. I don't know how I can represent this to you other than you're gonna have to trust me. That feels way different than the other one. All right, guys, so we're gonna hop back on the scan tool here. Now I've brought up, as you can see on your screen, over here we have the purge solenoid, we have the eSIM switch, we have the fuel tank pressure sensor. And I believe that we still have a leak. And I say that because we're not building pressure. So from our base of whatever the Pascals were, 37 or 73 or something like that, I mean, it's been several minutes since I've put that on and got scan tool out. I would expect this to be building pressure just from natural expansion, you know, volatile fuel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start it up, let it idle. We're gonna watch the purge valve. It should turn on at some point here during idling. And then we should immediately see the fuel tank pressure sensor drop. You know, we should have, you know, minus, I don't remember what the spec was. I think it was minus 500, negative 500 pascals was its limit. And we should also, what we want to see is we want to see the switch close. Once it hits that, we should be able to shut the key off, and it should maintain that vacuum, not indefinitely, but for a while until it starts naturally, you know, building some heat in the tank and starts to pressurize the tank. So let's just go ahead and start it here, folks. Contact. So we might have to give it a minute for the purge valve to open. So we'll just wait here. We might have to bump the throttle up a little bit. But even with this just sitting here at an idle, I would expect our pressure to start building in the tank right here, and it's not. So I'm 95% certain we still have a leak. But I just want to make sure that our switch works now and that we see it go into a vacuum. Just gotta wait for this purge valve to turn on. Okay, there we go. So it's turning on. Our fuel tank pressure is starting to come down. Not a lot, but okay. And we've seen our switch status change states from open to closed. So that's good. Okay, so we've learned a couple things. Purge solenoid is working. Check. Which we suspected it was. Our switch status went to close, and our fuel tank pressure sensor is showing that it's pulling some vacuum. However, not enough to make me satisfied, because I would assume that this would have hit minus 500, minus 600 pascals at almost 30% duty cycle. Okay, so I'll give this just a minute here. I don't want it to get too hot. I'm going to shut it off, and we're going to see how quickly that decays back to atmospheric pressure. So technically that should be staying into a vacuum, but it's not. Okay, so we obviously have a leak. And you can see we're going to go very quickly back to atmospheric. In a perfect world, if we would get to the 73, I mean, we would have had a slow decay. We would have come back to 73 pascals, and then we should start to see a steady increase. So before we even get the thing too hot, let's just keep going. We fixed a problem. We fixed the switch. But if I give this back to the customer, 100% guaranteed money light's coming back on. Easiest way to do this at this point is with a smoke machine. A couple other things we can make note of right there when we first started it, and we're looking at the fuel tank pressure, and we start the engine, we're waiting for the purge solenoid to turn on. Now, if you start the engine and all of a sudden, you start seeing that pressure drop down and your purge solenoid's still sticking at 0, you got a problem, lady. Your purge solenoid's stuck open. So that's a couple things we can gather just by sitting in the driver's seat diagnosing an evap system on a Chrysler that has a fuel tank pressure sensor and an ESIM switch. I find it quite interesting that they don't use the tank pressure sensor for any part of leak testing. I don't know what they use it for, to be honest with you, and I haven't looked in service data, but I did find enough to know that they don't use it for leak testing. So, whatever. I guess I was getting at the easiest way to do this with a smoke machine. Now, these don't have a conventional canister vent valve that we can push the button with a scan tool and close it off. It has an ESIM switch. The pressure on the smoke machine is going to overcome its mechanical pressure to cap off that system. It's very similar to Toyota and some of the Hondas, and I think Ford uses an NVLD system that's kind of similar to this. So the easiest way to do it, instead of trying to fight the system, we know the switch works and it's new. Let's just go back here and pinch the hose off on the outlet to it, to the fresh air side, pinch that off, unhook the purge valve, and stick our smoke machine right in that hole and just go find a leak. I think it's going to be pretty big and shouldn't be too hard to find. So we're going to use our Easy Connect system here. This is by Redline, and I already pulled the adapter out. Figured I'd show you guys. It just comes with a bunch of little adapters for hooking to different type of evap systems when there's not a green cap Schrader port to hook to. It comes with every one except for this one, which fits almost every Ford on the market. So I made my own with some rubber hose and a broken piece of a purge valve. Got the purge valve unhooked right here. I unhooked from the bottom with a quick connect. We're just going to stick this little guy in it, right like that. Hook up the Evoca smoker. We're going to put some smoke in the system, and then we're going to go underneath. We're going to pinch off the outlet of that ESIM switch, because like I say, the pressure of the smoke machine is going to overcome the weight of that natural switch or that weighted switch in there. So it's going to be blowing smoke out of it like a leak. So we're just going to pinch it off and we're going to find the leak. Kind of hear that up in there rattling around. So we're just going to pinch this off nice and tight. That should be good. We could always take the hose back off and just cap off the end. I might stick a second pair on. Oops, we got some smoke coming this way, fellas. Wow, look at this. Even our new cap sucks. I can hear it hissing. I don't know if it's the filler, if the filler neck itself is rotted out, or if it's leaking around that cap. Well, let's let it down and have a closer gander. Well, I'm really... Oh, you know what? I think there's a rust hole. Yes, sir. What do you guys think about this? Is this a rust hole right here at the end of my swollen finger? Right up there, can you see that? So I'm thinking like right there. I think that is a rust hole. Yeah, so definitely a hole. And definitely a hole straight through it. So can you guys see that now? Enhance. Enhance. So there it is. There's your problem, lady. We just need to weld the hole shut in the filler neck. So this puts us in a little bit of a pickle, folks, because this is just a big cob job, from adding on the aluminum flatbed. We have what appears to be some kind of like hydraulic suction hose, and it's adapted down and sleeved down with another chunk of rubber on a filler neck that's probably been cut off, and then another piece of metal put in here, hooked to the original filler neck. So it's a little jerry-rigged, and I'm gonna have to check by bin, is this a straight chassis truck or was it a pickup truck that they took the bed off? I think it was probably just a cabin chassis. I don't know for a fact, but I'll see if I can't get down to the bottom of it. I mean, this is all jerry-rigged through here with just rubber hose and such, which kind of sucks, but we'll do what we have to do and we'll try to find the parts. But that's not gonna happen today, I'll tell you that. And I think once we do that, that'll get rid of this guy's problem. He's still gonna leave here with a broken truck and a bill. So that sucks as a customer, but I'll sleep well at night knowing that we did the best job we could. We fixed one of the problems to lead us to the next problem, so hopefully you guys understood my process of going through that. Could we have checked for gross leak and found a bad switch and all that stuff at first? Yeah, hindsight is always 20/20. We always could have. We could have pinched it off, checked for a leak, found a leak, said you need an eSIM switch, you need this, but you know, whatever. This guy, he's a pretty cool dude, just like you guys, pretty cool dude. So be cool in that comment section. Find us on our socials, the Insta, Facebook. Just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.